Before I get started, quick shout out to NEEP. Thank you very much for an awesome conference and for inviting me here. And thank you to all of you for being here and continuing to kind of drive change in our industry. It's an exciting time to be in our industry, and I look forward to battling forward with you every day. So over the next 15 minutes, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to tell you a story that, if told flawlessly, will brilliantly connect my personal battle with cancer, the Human Genome Project, and our ability to scale energy efficiency like it's never been scaled before. It's a pretty cool story, at least in my own head. But more importantly, it's a story of hope. It's a story of how we together can change the world. It's a story of what if. So I'm going to kick this off by taking us back about 10 years to a Gold's Gym, of all places, outside of Washington, D.C. in Arlington, Virginia. It used to be pretty big into working out prior to a couple kids and family domination and all that kind of stuff. I actually was relatively buff back in my day, but anyway. One day I noticed an irritation on my hands. And my first thought was, Bennett, you're obviously crushing the weights a little too hard. You got to back off. But it got worse, so I went to a dermatologist. About 2 minutes into that appointment, she stops me. She points to a dark mole on my left sideburn. She said, "How long has that been there?" She removed it, tested it. 2 days later, I was diagnosed with malignant melanoma, the most deadly form of skin cancer. It was scary, very scary, actually. But I was lucky. She had caught it in time. After a few more surgeries, I was cleared, and knock on wood, have been cancer-free for more than 10 years now. 75,000 people are diagnosed with melanoma each year, and many of them aren't as lucky. But big data and technology is changing all of that. How many of you, sorry, I get a little choked up sometimes. How many of you have heard of the Human Genome Project? Wow, wasn't expecting that. Awesome. Human Genome Project was a project launched in 1990 with the goal of understanding the billion of genomes that make up our bodies. The idea was that by better understanding the genomes, we could not only better understand the diseases we were susceptible to, but how to prevent them and possibly improve them going forward. As a result of the Human Genome Project, they identified a genome that was responsible for the mutation in the driving cause in melanoma in more than 50% of patients. That discovery led them to innovate in terms of medicines and deliveries that were changing the lives of many, many people. In other words, the Human Genome Project is giving those 75,000 people a fighting chance. So why am I talking about this? 2 reasons. First, this idea of using data and analytics to innovatively tackle the world's biggest problems is deeply personal to me. Second, the learnings and principles from the Human Genome Project has the power to do for building energy efficiency as what it did for science. Change the way the game is played and give every one of us in this room a fighting chance. As many of you know, buildings are responsible for 40% of all energy consumed. 30 to 50% of that is routinely wasted. That energy waste hurts our economy when businesses use more of it on their energy bills. That energy waste hurts our environment when it turns into unnecessary carbon emissions. Energy efficiency is undoubtedly the best path forward. So if we know that buildings are a huge problem, and if we know that energy efficiency is the most reliable, cost-effective, and scalable solution, why are we not reducing this waste faster? Why is the market only operating at a fraction of its total potential? These guys, buildings. Buildings are complex beasts, and there's a lot of them. Similar to the human genome, buildings are comprised of hundreds of distinct markers, operational and systematic characteristics that work together in a complex way to determine how those buildings use energy. Look around this room. The lights, the HVAC, the people, the AV equipment in the back, all of that together determines how buildings use energy. Probably more importantly, traditionally our industry has used slow and manual processes to attack this. We've spent millions of dollars in years walking around counting those lights, counting those HVAC units, trying to figure out what to do. Not only is that expensive and time-consuming, but across hundreds and thousands of buildings, it's just not scalable. What about the 5 million buildings in the US? Take 22 years and $50 billion just to figure out which ones are inefficient. We haven't even saved a kilowatt hour yet. Before scientists mapped the human genome, they too didn't know where to go. But how do you cure a disease if you don't understand its fundamental root cause? Our industry is no different. What if we could change all of that? What if we could identify buildings with twice as much savings versus just the ones that are the largest consumers? What if, instead of using mass market media techniques, we can engage customers with building-specific, one-on-one opportunities that would significantly increase participation in efficiency programs? What if we could reduce evaluation costs and convert savings up to 80% faster? We can. We are. And it's allowing us to drive deeper savings at a scale, accuracy, and cost that's never been done before. It's allowing us to find the buildings with diseases and figure out how to fix them. You see, data and analytics is already transforming our industry, much the same way it transformed healthcare, financial services, retail. And my company, Retroefficiency, is one of the innovative leaders in this space. We work with utilities, program administrators, energy services companies, and large owners to turn limited amounts of information into detailed results in minutes and at a fraction of the cost. We leverage meter data, advanced analytics, and rapid energy modeling to understand how buildings use energy and how they could improve it. We're working with 20 utility programs today, and I'm proud to say that many of those are right here in the Northeast. Con Edison, Efficiency Vermont, are using our analytics to geo-target load-constrained areas of the grid and implement energy savings in these targeted networks. Conservation Services Group and Efficiency Maine are using our platform to enable hard-to-reach segments of the market like multifamily and small businesses. This could truly democratize energy efficiency for all versus a select few. Northeast Utilities and National Grid are investigating the use of analytics to help capture low and no-cost energy savings potential. HVAC retrocommissioning and operations has been shown to be up to a third of the cost-effective potential in our buildings. It should be a much larger part of our demand-side management portfolio. Utilities around the world are beginning to wake up to this idea of analytics. We recently did a project with a utility where we evaluated 300,000 meters to remotely assess the energy savings potential of every one of their customers. These are truly unprecedented numbers in our industry. But similar to the Human Genome Project, industry-wide change does not happen overnight. In fact, it took the Human Genome Project 13 years to effectively map the building genome. Our industry, the world, can't wait that long. So, in true retroefficiency spirit, we decided to speed that up. The Building Genome Project is the largest, most robust effort to collect, mine, and organize publicly available information and then use that information to evaluate energy efficiency at scale. Through the Building Genome Project, we are combining this data with our advanced analytics to create unique energy models of every commercial building within some of the largest cities in the United States. Our first city, New York. We mapped the genomic characteristics of New York City's commercial building portfolio to create energy models of 30,000 commercial buildings. We did it in 2 days. We then used those analytics and those models to run 3 illustrative situations, scenarios that we hoped people would see the benefit of an energy model of every building. Through these 3 scenarios, we found New York could save more than $400 million a year. The idea of doing this was not to showcase the ability to identify energy savings at a building-by-building approach like our normal software. The idea was to get people to think bigger. The idea was to get people to think, what if? What if New York City, what if every building in New York City turned down its thermostat 1 degree in the winter and up 1 degree in the summer? New York could save $145 million and reduce almost 2% of its total consumption. What if every building in New York City with inefficient windows replaced them with energy-efficient ones? New York could save $227 million a year and cut almost 5% of its total consumption. And what if every building in New York that had an oil boiler replaced it for a natural gas boiler? New York could save $10 million a year, but essentially burn a much cleaner fuel source. Once you have a model of every building, the ability to ask these questions and derive these answers is limitless. Once you have a model of every building, it's no longer a building-by-building conversation. At that point, the game has changed. So now it's your turn in my flawlessly delivered and brilliantly connected story. Imagine in your role at your company that you had perfect information, perfect efficiency information across every one of your buildings. Imagine that you understood how every one of your buildings used energy and could improve it. What would you want to know? What would you want to know that would enable your team to achieve its goals next quarter? What would you want to know that would enable your company to achieve its 3-year efficiency mandates? What would you want to ask that could potentially transform the industry forever? Analytics today is giving you the ability to ask those questions, and we at Retroficiency can get you the answers. That's only half the battle. The other half of the battle is that we need people who want to drive change. We need people that want to transform an industry. We need people like all of you. So you need to ask those questions, and you need to take those answers, and you need to drive that change, and you need to do it each and every day. And together, we will revolutionize this industry. Thank you.